Kilowatt Echo 8 Delta India Hotel.
Roger there. What's the name?
Roger there. What's the name?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark, Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo. I'm in northern Ohio, and you are strong 5959 with me. Over.
Roger that, Mark. And what radio are you running, sir?
Roger that, Mark. And what radio are you running, sir?
Okay, this is the Qso FTDX-10, 100 watts, and an N-fed half wave set up as an inverted L. Over.
Roger. Did you have much trouble setting that up as far as SWR is concerned?
Do you have much trouble setting that up as far as SWR is concerned?
I have tried a number of different counterpoise configurations, and I've been using a single elevated counterpoise wire, in my case about 13 feet long. My antenna is fed at 5 feet above ground, goes up to about 25 feet, and then out horizontally from there. Over.
Yes, sir. Now, is that a dipole or just a long wire?
Yes, sir. Now, is that a dipole or just a long wire?
This is an N-fed half wave. It's fed with a 64 to 1 unknown, and I have a common mode choke at feed point to isolate the feed line. Over.
Yes, sir. Now, I used to have one of those Pinnacle antennas. It's a sloper, was a sloper, from about 80 feet on one side down to the center point, feed point, and then pretty much parallel to ground at about 30 feet above ground, 25, 30 feet on the other side of the dipole. And I tried to work out the SWR. I could get it down a little bit, but it was a challenge, and I never, I would say, in about 2 or 3 months, I would say, I'm going to go up there and work on that antenna some more and try to get that SWR down. And I would go up there and play with it for a couple of hours, and I'd probably wind up worse than where I was, and whatever. And then I was using tie wraps on the antennas just so I could quickly move them around. And one of the tie wraps slipped, and I lost the whole high side antenna support out of the tree. That was, like 60 feet up there. And I was, oh my God, that's, it took a bunch of effort to get it up there. But I did lose it. And so I said, well, I'll just tie it off to the first limb on the tree instead of the top. And so I did that. And so instead of a sloper, it was pretty much horizontal like the other side. And I go in and look, and the SWR is non-existent. The problem was that there was such a discrepancy between the one side of the dipole and the other side, the one being the sloper and the other side being the horizontal to ground. And I never would have worked that out if I'd kept on that way. So it was really a godsend that I wound up losing the top aspect and just going to that lower limb on the tree, Roger.
Losing the top aspect and just going to that lower limb on the tree, Roger.
Okay, QSL. I did have something of a similar problem when I first installed the antenna. I was making all of my frequency adjustments at the far end of the antenna, away from the feed point, and I was using a fairly heavy insulated wire from DX Engineering, and I was just wrapping it back on itself at that far end to make changes. And I could not make anything work. I kept getting completely erratic changes every time I made a change. Nothing would follow a pattern. And what eventually happened is I ended up just not making the adjustments at the far end. I got rid of that twist back on the wire element and just soldered it there, and then started making all of the adjustments strictly at the feed point, and then everything started to come in, and the changes I were making became fairly linear. I use this antenna mostly just on 40 meters. I do have it tuned up for the higher bands, and I get fairly good SWR, but I also have a cobweb antenna for 20 through 10 meters. and I find that the cobweb works a little bit better in this installation. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, I follow the point of adjusting on the ends of it. Those are the voltage points, so they're the most sensitive to change in the antenna. You have to do a bunch of stuff to make any difference on the base of it, since that's the current side of most antennas. So what I would do is, I don't know if you're familiar with the thing called a split bolt. But I would take a split bolt out to the end of the antenna, and I would tack down about a 18-inch piece of wire and connect it to the antenna with a split bolt. So, they use split bolts for power transformers on the poles, and those things last a good 30 years. So it's good enough for me. And so then I can make adjustments on this dangling piece of wire, about 18 inches long or so, and I can move it up, move it down, wrap it around, whatever I need to do. And what I did was on the negative side, I'm not using any transformers or anything up there, just a straight, coax feed. And so on the ground side, I would make my adjustments for SWR. And then on the high side, I would bring it back onto frequency. And I would keep going back and forth, SWR always on the ground side, and bring it back to frequency on the high side, and keep going back, and you can just bring it right down on frequency that you're looking for at zip SWR, Roger.
That you're looking for at zip SWR, Roger.
KC9VKV from KE8DIH. Okay, QSL, that's a good idea. Next time that I need to do some adjusting, I'll give that a try. If you have a little bit of interest, if you look at my QRZ page, you'll see some diagrams and photographs of the antenna installation. Over.
Very good. Now, are you coaxed all the way into the house, or do you use 300 ohm or like that?
Into the house, or do you use 300 ohm or like that?
Okay, I'm feeding the antenna with coax. It's RG400 equivalent, and I've got about a 27 to 28 foot run from the shack out to the base of the radio mast. Over.
Roger, Roger. Now that 400 is some kind of coax, man. That is, sometimes it's not user friendly because it's so stiff. It does a heck of a job, but it's just so stiff to use, particularly indoors.
Heck of a job, but it's just so stiff to use, particularly indoors.
Yep, QSL. I'm fortunate that I have a straight run and don't have to make very many bends. So that extra stiffness it hasn't been too much of a problem for me. I'm using, I believe it's the Messi and Paolini brand out of Italy, and I changed that out about, 2 years ago, and it's been working very well for me. Over.
Oh, roger that, roger that. Well, I'm, we went to the Indianapolis meet the other year, probably about 4 years ago, and there was this amateur group. I guess they had a repeater station somewhere, and they put new coax in. So they were selling this used coax at $10 a 100 foot, and this was mainly RG8 stuff. And I said, "Wow, man, this is for me." And so I've been using that stuff for the last 10 years, and it's just worked great, Roger.
That stuff for the last 10 years, and it's just worked great, Roger.
QSL, it just depends on the quality of the cable of the original manufacturer, and then how much exposure it has had to weather. Down here on the low bands, I was using some very old Jetstream branded coax, probably from 1995, and it was working just fine. But when I installed my cobweb antenna, I just changed out that old coax. I figured that after 35 years, it didn't owe me anything. I do still have it, though. Doesn't seem to show too much degradation. And I keep it around for jumpers and temporary installs. Over.
Roger that, roger that. Well, when I I spent 2 or 3 years doing Yagi antennas, UHF and VHF Yagi antennas, and I started using RG59 quad stuff, and if there were any discrepancies in SWR as opposed to 52 ohm stuff, I could correct it because I'm doing my own thing as far as doing SWR on these beams. They were 7-element beams, 14-element beams, and so when I started using the 220, I was also, using this RG59 and quad stuff for jumpers, and everything worked out pretty good there. But we did, like I say, start using the SP220. So you're running from 100 watts up to kW. And I stayed too long at the farm one time when I was tuning up with this stuff and with the RG59, and I started smelling something, and I looked back, and man, this 59 stuff had just turned to spaghetti. It was in loose, kind of warped spaghetti. So I do know that RG59 dies at a kilowatt, Roger.
Know that RG59 dies at a kilowatt, Roger.
Yep, QSL. I was originally running RG8X up to my cobweb, and I had that up for about a year and a half to 2 years, and it worked pretty well for me. But when I had the opportunity and I changed it out to this M&P coax, the RG4 coming in, I found that I had a lot less noise coming in on the feed line. When I would had a common mode choke at the entry point here to the shack, and I could take it in and out between the two different coaxes. And I found I had a lot better shielding with the M&P coax. They have, I believe they have the internal copper tape as well as the braid. And overall, I've been pretty happy with it. No particular reason I went with that brand. I had not used it before, but all of DX Engineering and HRO and everyone was out of RG400 at the time I needed it, and they had it in stock. And I had it in about 3 days from Italy, so overall I'm fairly pleased with it. Over.
Roger. Just wondering if you had ever had any problems with audio, RF in the audio.
Problems with RF in the audio.
Nope, negative. I haven't had any reports of it. Over.
Yes, sir. Sounds well. I was just asking. Your audio is just perfect right now, just clean as a whistle. I was just curious because what that is RF coming back into the shack, and I had that problem earlier. Because the more stuff you have tied to your audio system into your radio, the more probability you stand of getting RF pickup into the audio. And we have a system that we feed the video recorder and all that stuff, and it's all tied together. And so I did in the beginning have a slight problem, and I was thinking, if I could just see the RF to figure out how to change it, to move it along to somewhere else, And then I happened to think, well, what about a fuel strength meter? And so I had, a couple of old CV field strength meters, and I broke one out, and wow, it would show me exactly where the hotspots of RF were, and one of them, or should I say most of it, was coming in because I was using a group wiring run around the house, which had a bunch of stuff. It had coax feeds in there, but it did have some rotor antenna rotor cable wire that ran in that trough along with the antenna coaxes. And what was happening was that they were running parallel to each other for a pretty good amount of time, and there was enough that would get into it. Obviously, these rotor cables were not shielded. They were just 3-conductor, I think, or 4, something. And so this RF was just floating right into the shack on these wires, and I just had to cut them off and roll them up and get them out of here, Roger.
So I just had to cut them off and roll them up and get them out of here, Roger.
KC9VKV from KE8DIH. Yep, unfortunate here. I just have the two coax lines going out from my operating desk, and also my ground line runs out through the same conduit out the rim joist of the house. But I've been fortunate that I haven't had any problems with RF getting back into the station, and that can be a real hassle at times. I have to agree with you to limit the numbers of wires running around the shack wherever can. I had considered going to some sort of desk mic or boom mic with this setup, but I've just been running the standard stock hand mic that comes with the radio, and so far I haven't had any trouble with RFI. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, you know, hand mic is a lot more less susceptible to audio problems as far as RF getting into it. A hand mic is a lot less susceptible to that than a desk mic. I don't know really what the problem is, but you know, it just seems to me that a hand mic, and when in doubt, a hand mic is always the best route. Roger.
A hand mic is always the best route. Roger. Hello,
Yes, QSL. It certainly seems to be the simplest, and I think we're fortunate today that most of the manufacturers are putting, you know, a halfway respectable stock hand mic in the package with it. In past years, a lot of them were really pretty terrible. But it seems like the big makers, ICOM, Kenwood, and Yaesu, have put at least a decent quality mic in the packages. Over.
Oh, yes, sir. And I think I hear somebody calling. So, Mark, let me pass along 73 to you, sir. You're sounding good. And again, if you want to hear your audio, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, followed by the word logbook, will take you to this recording, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow.
To this recording, and I'll have it uploaded by noon tomorrow.
Okay, my friend. I very much appreciate the conversation, and we'll wish you all the best here from Ohio. KC9VKV from KE8DIH 73, and good afternoon.
Roger, Roger, sir. I think you really enjoy your recording. You really sound good. Good job. This is the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog net. My name is Jim, and if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.